show. All right, today in Adobe Photoshop CS6, I'm just gonna go over a couple basics. We're gonna do a little bit of exploring inside the image adjustments column here. We will go over brightness, we'll go over levels, just a couple that I use fairly often: Vibrance, hue saturation, black and white, and probably shadow highlights. We'll start from the top and we'll we'll go with brightness and contrast. What I'm going to do is duplicate the layer. I just hit Apple J or Control J if you're on a Mac to duplicate the layer. Alright, just real quick, I'm going to go ahead and stretch this canvas thing out here so we can see what type of before and after effect we got going on. So the picture on our right will be our before after, and the picture on the left will be our before. Okay, so alright, first we will cover brightness and contrast. This is for people that are just starting to use Photoshop or really don't know what the different options do inside the menus, because they all come in handy for different situations. So brightness and contrast is self-explanatory. The brightness, it adjusts how bright the photo is. It's kind of like messing with the exposure. The contrast is separating the colors and the shadows from the highlights. The higher you turn it up to the right, the more sharper and more contrasted your image will be. To the left, it's more vague and less detailed. When you up the contrast, it gives the photo a little bit more detail. It actually kind of affects the saturations a little bit as well, as you can see. So that's what brightness and contrast does. Pretty simple. Levels. The levels are like your blacks and your whites and your midtones. Okay, so like the middle one's your midtones. Obviously you can adjust it left or right. To the left will lighten it up, to the right will darken it, and it just really depends on what type of look you're going for and what type of artist you are with your projects. I kind of go for a more of a high contrast look, so I really like to crush my blacks and bring my highlights out like so. Okay, so as you can see with the levels, it made the blacks a lot darker. It crushed the blacks so that we got a lot more detail into the picture. I'm just gonna undo that so we can go back to our original shot. Now we're going to go to, let's see, Vibrance. Now the Vibrance is like similar to saturation. It's the strength of the color. See how as you turn it to the right, his skin tone, it brings in more color. His lips are more pink, his skin's more yellow, and when you bring it to the right, those colors, they desaturate more. See, the photo's almost black and white. Now when you use the saturation, it's almost a similar effect, except it's more amplified. You see, now when I turn it all the way up to the right with the saturation, everything's very pink or very orange or very yellow. It actually ruins the shot. Well, I mean, as I said earlier, it depends on what type of feel you're going for with your artistry. And of course, when you pull it to the left, it takes out all the color completely and gives you a black and white image. Now, similar to making a black and white image, there's obviously that way to do it, bringing up the hue or the vibrance. You can also bring up the hue and saturation and bring the saturation down. That way you can make a black and white picture. Now with hue and saturation, it's pretty much similar to Vibrance. Well, the saturation in this one works exactly the same as the one in Vibrance actually, but the hue will actually change the colors altogether to an entirely different hue. Like his skin's green now it's blue, red. You know, you can get like a Incredible Hulk kind of thing going, whatever you're trying to do. That's what the hue is for, just changing colors completely. I'm gonna put that back to 0. The lightness is like how light or dark the picture is, and it's different from brightness and contrast because it just lightens the picture altogether. It doesn't really lighten it by the highlights or the shadows. It lightens it evenly. Now here, these are just at the top, these are just presets you can use that Photoshop has set in here. Cyanotype and increase saturation. I never use these presets, but they're here if this is the quick little styles that you're going for. Here where it says master is where you can control the hues, the lightness, and the saturations of the colors individually. These are all the colors that are going to appear in your image here that make up all the rest of the colors. So let's say I want to bring the reds down. I just select red, and then with the saturation, if I think the reds are too toned or too saturated, I should say, I can just bring it to the left, and it pulls out all the red. As you can see, like even the pink comes out because it's a form of red. So his lips are black, and his lips are gray. His blemishes are gray now. But if I turn it to the right, again, we're gonna get that oversaturated look, and too much of it will ruin the picture. So it all depends on, like I said, what type of look you're going for. You can go through this and do this with any of the colors to get the desired look you're going for. Let's say I want his skin tone to stand out a little bit more, so I would select the yellow because he's, you know, most of his skin has like a yellow tint to it. You can like select the greens, change those. Every little thing you can change as far as saturations and hues go. And you can even, like, you know, go to the hue and change it completely. Where's that Incredible Hulk look again? I think if I threw like change the red, it'll also cooperate a little better. Yep, there's our Hulk look again without changing his shirt this time. So the next one, let's say we're trying to make a black and white image, right? And yeah, this one's pretty cool with the hue and saturation. We can pull the saturation down. Bam, there's our black and white image. That's fine, right? But let's say that we want to get a little more detailed and control how black or how white each individual color is. We can go to image and then go to adjustments and then go to the black and white option. And when we go to the black and white option, it's going to give us all our colors again: our red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and magenta. And you can affect them all separately. Now you can see the pictures in black and white because it gives you a preview. If you have the box checked, if you don't, it'll just appear in color. But I like to have the preview on so I can see it as I affect the settings. And let's say I want his skin to be a little whiter than how it looks. We can just pull the yellow up because I know the yellow is in his skin, and whatever you do to the yellow color, it'll affect his skin tone. So we could do that, or we can darken it. See how it just dramatically, this is a completely different photo now, even though it's still black and white, just because of the separate color alterations we're making. See, I can make his lips a little darker, His shirt's blue, so we could change that. All these different things you could change. I'd actually probably bring him a little bit more further down this way, so you could tell he's a guy of color. Not that much color though. Maybe like that. And you know, that's another way to make photos black and white. Or as I said, you could just go to the image adjustments and go to Vibrance or go to hue and saturation and turn it down like that. Now let's say you do it like that, but now the picture doesn't have the contrast you're looking for. You can just go back into the menu and go to the brightness and contrast and turn it up, and it'll give you more contrast. You can darken it. Like you can just keep stacking these effects on top of each other and putting them together to achieve whatever effect you're looking for. Now another one, we're gonna look at two more before we get out of here. One more is the threshold. Now threshold is an interesting one because it gives you that, it separates the lights and the darks into two different shades, white and black, as best as it can. With the little meter here, you can adjust it to give you more of a separation or less of a separation. Now this effect is especially nice because you can get that stencil kind of a look with your layouts, kind of similar to how the Scarface DVD cover is. It has that black and white tone with a little red, but that's how you can do that with the threshold, and you can get really cool effects and blend your layers together to get all sorts of different types of stuff or whatever you're trying to do. You know what I mean? One more I wanted to look at was the shadows and highlights. Now this one's really cool because you can control the actual amount of shadow or highlight in the photo, if it's like too dark or too light when you originally take the picture. So like, let's say I feel like I need more highlight in here. You can just adjust the meters. This will give us our contrast, our mid-tone contrast. This is how much shadow or how much highlight you're letting in to the photo. And the tonal width is how much of a spread is going to make on the picture overall. Now when you mess with this filter here, it's dope because you can kind of get sort of a drawn, kind of a sketchy, cartoony sort of effect, as opposed to the one on the left here that just has the regular photo effect on it. So those are a few different ways to make your photos a little more interesting. Well, that'll conclude our tutorial for today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below.